Hey everyone, Graham from Loudwire here, and it's my honor to welcome the one and only metal god, Rob Halford. Rob, how are you today, sir?
Hello, Graham. Hi, everybody. It's good to be with you once again.
It's fantastic to have you here. And of course, the book is right here, Rob. It's the second one, Biblical. I got myself a copy. I enjoyed it very, very much. I enjoyed your first book as well. But I feel like in this book, you get to dive even deeper into the mind of Rob Halford and find out how your mind works a little bit more. You write about how sometimes you can feel a bit uncomfortable with the enormous praise that is sometimes heaped upon you, just like I think anyone would in that situation. That having been said, uh, do you always feel comfortable being called the metal god, or can that be a bit much sometimes?
Uh, I tell you what this is about. Much like you and I have discussed in the past with fellow musicians and everybody really. This whole balance of mentally trying to get an awareness of what you're doing and what you're achieving and receiving back in terms of feedback. It is really as important, and we've tried to raise those points as you point out in the book. And yeah, you can call me the metal god forever. I love it. The fans gave me that name many metal moons ago, and it's great. It's a term of endearment, and I take it seriously because it's pretty cool to have that type of name attached to you. Besides, it's Rob. But yeah, the way that some certain things can come back at you in a way that are challenging, and you have to figure out how am I going to deal with this. And that's just one of the many parts of biblical that we look into.
Absolutely. And the book comes out November 1st. It'll make a great stocking stuffer. You can give it to your friends for Christmas if you'd like. Another interesting part of the book, you write fairly early on about struggling to listen to the sound of your own voice. It can be difficult to hear yourself and go, "Oh God, I can't stand hearing my own voice." What can you tell me about 50 metal years of Judas Priest? Is 50 years enough time to get used to the sound of your own
no,
voice?
no, no. It's just, I don't think it's that peculiar.
Yeah.
I think because musicians, we're always trying to reach nirvana, and if nirvana is unreachable, we're always going, God, I wish I could have done that bit better. I wish I would have got that note a bit better or held that scream a bit longer. And that's part of the joy of what we do. The joy of making music is pushing yourself and testing your limits and seeing what you can achieve that you haven't done previously. But no, it's weird. Is it weird? I don't know. I just can't stand the sound of my own voice. I listen to it obviously in playback when I'm with Andy Do It Again Sneap. You know, I have no choice. I wait for him to say we've got it next. Um, but it's a peculiar foible. But I learned to live with it. I learned to live with it. It's uh, it's what I do. It's my life. My life is a metal singer, and all that matters to me is what comes out of my mouth when I'm on stage, first and foremost. As we've talked before about the biggest struggle for all musicians is when you kind of validate who you are and what you're about and what you're achieving with your fans. That's when it all makes sense. So, so that's probably the only time I can kind of cope with listening to myself because I've got it coming in at 11 and my in-ear monitors anyway. And and there you go. You push through it.
Is there any song in particular that if you could have a redo of it, you would take a redo if you could go back in time, or is it just a general thing?
Sometimes you're kind of faced with the opportunity of doing a remaster
Mhm.
of your songs, and I kind of obligingly accept that it can be useful. But I think that once something's done, you've made the agreement, the band agreement. You've said that's it, let it go. It's done. It's done. So you do let it go. And there is a tremendous temptation to go, can we? I wonder if I could just record that line again, or that whole song again, or that whole album again. It's kind of again a part of trying to make the best things happen. But I think that, you know, when I listen to Rock and Roller, and fans go, "That's the greatest metal priest, the greatest metal priest has ever made." I'm like, "Oh my god," you know, because you've heard how we felt about making that record, and yet this is it. Your perception on what you've done is completely different to another person's. So again, you rely on your band and your producers and everybody else to reinforce this direction that you're going with. And once you've completed it, you put that song in the box and you move on to the next one.
Yes, and in the book, you know, like the scriptures themselves, you go through many different chapters, many different records. We kind of get to learn a lot more about each individual Judas Priest record. Like you mentioned in the book that the band was never more chilled yet focused while recording British Steel. But then in Point of Entry, it was just sort of wild, and everyone was just kind of having fun and partying. It's just you learn a lot of interesting stuff, and you know, do you think that the correlation to comfort while recording has anything to do with the quality of how the album comes out?
I think it's where you're at as a band. I think every band has a different atmosphere and different textures going on wherever you are at that moment in time. So when we made Point of Entry, I think somebody reminded me this the other day. You did that in Ibiza. That was the first record you did in Ibiza. I'm like, oh, that explains a lot. You know? Ian driving his car into the rental car into the pool outside the studio at 4 a.m. That kind of insanity. Oh, by the way, you've got to make a record. It's got to be delivered to the label on this date. But yes, it's that feeling, and I've said it as we mentioned in the book. Once you close the door in the studio, you can be anywhere. You really can be anywhere. When we were at John Lennon's old house in London making British Steel, there was a little bit of comfort there, particularly for me and Glenn, being mad Beatles fans. It was just residual Beatleness, is that a word, floating around the room. You know, when you walk into the Imagine room and the piano and everything, and where the piano was, and yes, obviously that's going to seep into you as a person. And I'm sure that in terms of the way our minds work as musicians, there's just something very solid going on there that happens in that particular place that probably wouldn't happen elsewhere. And that's the beauty of making records. Each record not only has a story to tell from the music that you've made, but definitely the building itself, the surroundings, whether you walk out and you're in New York or whether you walk out in Ibiza, it all plays a role in the end idea of the concept.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, the teamwork between bandmates. Obviously, in a part of the book, you're talking about times that were good, times that were bad, and throughout, you often find yourself playing the role of Switzerland to be neutral amongst the chaos that may be happening. If a band were to come to you, well, hey, you know, things are crazy with the band members, would you advise them to be Switzerland?
Yeah, you well, you can't be Switzerland and roll over, if you know what I mean by that.
Yeah.
You can be Swiss. I can't even say the word. You can be Switzerland and accommodate all the things that are coming into you, and process it, and try and put out what you think are valid, balanced, important, achievable objectives when you're making a record in the studio. Producers, yeah, they are, as I point out, they're a little bit like, you know, psychiatrists. They're all like Switzerland, you know,
Yeah.
because if the guitar player's going, I need to be a bit louder there. And then you push the fader up, and then the guitar player goes, well, I need to be a bit louder now, you know, and the singer is like going further and further in the background of the track. It's all that kind of stuff. And you have to accept that that's going to happen. And then you have to play the role of, look, if we do this, these are the best things that are going to happen in the song. And then you've got to convince everybody that that's what is the aim. That's what the aim is for every band and every record that you make. And it still happens now. It still happens now. You know, even when priests make a record, there's a tremendous amount of love in the room, but there's always one of us going, can you just just a notch, just a bit of a notch? You know, I don't need to go to 11. Just put, you know, 10 3/4, that kind of thing.
Often when sober people talk about their past with drugs or alcohol, sometimes they say, oh, you know, I had such great times on those substances, but I knew that I had to get off of them. I'd love to do them again, but I know I can't do them. In the book, you said that you feel like you never had good times on drugs or alcohol. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, only because whenever I drank or wherever I drunk, it was just to get completely obliterated out of my mind. There's nothing, there's nothing cool or fun or enjoyable about that, you know. And I used my drugs and booze to fight against my sexual identity. You know, that was part of my being drawn into that world. It was like a crutch. It was like a mental crutch to what was going on, and that was my way of escape. You know, you escape into the oblivion of alcohol and drugs, and again, you know, I also mentioned, you know, a lot of my friends do both of those things, and they're perfectly fine. They're perfectly fine. They don't have the addictive quality that a lot of musicians have. We have addictive tendencies, whether we know it or not. But for me, it was really really difficult, and so when I look back now, I that's my touchstone to whenever the temptation arises. You know, when I'm watching a football game, the beer commercial comes. Oh God, I could murder. It never leaves you, man. It absolutely never leaves you. It really is one day at a time.
Yeah. And on a lighter note, you talk about different reality shows that you were actually offered to be a part of, namely,
Yeah.
namely the Surreal Life and I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. But you also talk about how when you saw the Osbournes come on, it sort of broke your heart to see this aired to such a gigantic amount of people. Like, how much of it was how close do you think you really got to being a part of any of those reality shows?
Well, it was a decision, really. I mean, the offers were there, and it was up to you. What do you want to do it or not? And because I sometimes have an impulsive streak in me,
Mm,
especially when I'm creating music. I love the impulsive streak of creativity, but when it comes to something like that, which is out of the world of music, I really give it thought. You know, I don't just go, yeah, I'll do it. You know, although the chance to sit in the Versace hotel in Australia was very tempting. If you
mm.
lose on the first day, oh yeah, I'll lose on the first day and sit in the Versace hotel for 2 weeks. Um, so no, no, I think I made the right choice, and I just want to say about the Aussie experience. We've grown to love that now. We've
Yeah.
grown to love it and cherish it and treasure it, because let's face it, it was a game changer. As I understand it, that was the first ever reality TV experience. And I wasn't the only one that when we saw Ozzy stumbling about falling off his chair, we went, oh, that's not the Ozzy I love. But then you let that go because he's still Ozzy fucking Osbourne, right? At the end of the day, that's all that matters. But yeah, it's part of who we are and how we evolve, especially as you get older. And you like to think that wisdom's playing a role on making you um, maybe not shout as much at the television as you should be. Like watching Stranger Things right now.
Oh, yes.
Look behind you. Oh my God, 11. Why didn't you figure that out? It's just Thomas is like, it's just a show, it's fantasy. Yeah, I know, but it's all that kind of thing. Let it go. Let it go.
Yeah. And if you'd like to talk about it, there was an experience that both you and I have shared recently, and that's that we both beat cancer in the last few years. You sent me a very, very kind message congratulating me when I got the all clear. I appreciate that so much. Um, it's a very odd experience when you go through, because I found that with my experience, no matter how good my support system was, and it was a very good one, I found that it was still a very lonely experience to go through, because at the end of the day, it's you going to that hospital, it's you getting that chemotherapy, it's you having that surgery, you're looking up at the lights. Is that something that you experienced yourself?
Oh yeah, I said, didn't I? What was in Confessor Biblical that I'm into this almost selfish state of mind until I saw an advert on a commercial for the local Phoenix Children's Cancer Hospital,
Yeah.
and I saw little children with all these tubes sticking out of them. I thought, for God's sake, Rob, pull yourself together, man. These little kids,
Yes.
you've had this long, incredible life given to you by your metal maniacs, your fans around the world, and these kids, they don't know what's going on. So that was part of the adjustment.
Mhm.
Having said that, yes, I totally relate, Graham, because it really is terrifying. It's cancer, and for so many years we were led to believe that was it. You got cancer, you're going to go, and nothing could be further from the truth now, because the tremendous advances, advances in medical science have just given so many of us an opportunity to complete our lives. So, yes, to have a support, to have a positivity in your own mind, first and foremost, but then to have a support system. And you got to remember as well, there are some people that live alone that,
Yes.
don't really have anybody, and this again, if you're a metalhead and you're dealing with cancer or anything, that you're part of a metal community that has your back and that loves and cares for you. And we've got the social media at our fingertips. Tell us how you're feeling. Let us know what's going on, because you'll find you'll be flooded with love and responses of encouragement to get you through whatever difficulties in life, but particularly cancer. And so, congratulations, my friend. You're in the Metal Cancer Club survivors unit. And I just read the other day on Loudwire that some of our friends are also in musicians who are also dealing with the cancer issue. So we send love, light, and power to you all to recover.
Yes, we do. I found that when people ask me about what I went through, they ask me a lot. Has your perspective on life changed? And I mean, you spoke about seeing kids, and of course, when you're in those places, you see people who are worse off than you. You feel very grateful despite your situation, and feel very grateful that we're not living 50 years ago when there wasn't all that much that could be done for folks like you and me, Rob. But what about your perspective on life changed, if there was any?
Well, yes. Apart from living one day at a time, uh, fighting my drug and alcohol demons, and just being grateful when I go to bed every night and saying my prayers of gratitude, um, it does change your perspective, absolutely, because you've lived your life seeing this happen to other people, and then suddenly it's happening to you. And when you see it happening to other people, God, I wonder, that must be a horrible, to have to go through that, and to what does it feel like? And then boom, it's in your own life, So yes, then this amazing word gratitude becomes so profound, and it does change your perspective. You know, you look at the state of the world today, and I was reading one of my meditations the other night about how do you deal with all the terrible things that are going on in the world, and the thing is, you can't.
Mhm.
All you can do is whatever you're doing in your life, try and push as much back out into the world as you possibly can, that can be of some goodness and some kindness and some help.
Mhm.
That's all you can do. And so all of these things, all of these perspectives and the way you think and about yourself and your life and other people. They do change dramatically when you're dealing with something as potent as cancer.
Yes, and I think, like as you said, the importance of reaching out, whether you're just a member of the metal community or if it's a good friend or even just someone you know peripherally. Anytime that somebody reached out to me, I know it made me feel a heck of a lot better. It's so important for people to know that they are loved, and even though they're in this horrible situation, that they're not forgotten about, because it's lonely as it is. So I'm sure, Rob, you'd also encourage the folks out there, even if you think, oh, they don't want to hear from me, they probably want to hear from you. It's why
Oh
not?
yeah,
Yeah,
it's simplest things like we said just a few moments ago. The simplest thing like, hey, horns up on a Instagram post. That's enough. You send a horns emoji and everybody goes, that's it. I feel great. Something so tiny, a little tiny emoji can
yeah.
have such profound impact. But yes, communication, keeping the channels open as best as you possibly can. Um, it's important. It's so important. Even when, and again, God, I have to go into these modes, but it's important when we lose our beautiful friends, our beautiful musicians, or anybody really, but on a day-to-day basis, everything seems great. They're smiling, they're laughing, they're loving, they're enjoying life, and then they're gone. You know, and so again, just stay in touch. Even if everything seems to be great, just a little tweet or a text or a note, an email. Hey, what's happening, man? A call, anything, because it all has an effect. It all creates. It's a chain of effects. It's that yin yang thing. You do one thing, something else happens. You do another thing, something else happens. Keep everything open. Keep the doors open all the time.
Yeah, and congratulations yourself, Rob, on slaying the beast. It's not easy, but thank goodness that you're still around. And with that said, you're still around to see Pantera come back, and you're going to be playing at Knotfest in Colombia, so you're going to be able to see that happen, which I'm sure you're very excited about. Uh, Tell me about that. What's that going to be like?
I put a picture of me and Phil at Copenhagen on my Instagram while we were over there, and he goes, "Hey, what?" He goes, "I got a secret." What? Tell me. Give me the dirt, Phil. He goes, "Pantera." I go, "Thank God for that. Thank God for that, because this band means so much to us,
Yes.
and to have it validated by Zach and Charlie, to me,
Mm,
that's it. That's it. It's complete. It's complete. And Charlie and Zach love Pantera as much as we all do, as fans of the band, as much as we love and miss a Dime and Vinny.
yes.
Um, these guys are going to blow your fucking mind. I know they are. So we should just cherish and relish the moment. I hope they take it around the world, because there's millions and millions of Pantera fans who can't wait. Like me, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be inside that stage. I'm going to be there. I'm going to watch the whole thing, and it's going to be wonderful. Phil loves that band still so much, as Rex does, and I know he misses Dime
Yeah.
and Vinny and Rex do every single day of your life, like we all do. So this is just sensational. I think it needs to be done, because there's this healing there. There's healing, because I read some of these comments. Oh, you're digging up the past. No, they're not. They're doing a tremendous service to all of us Pantera fans, and the incredible healing that's gonna go out into the world, and to bring in new Pantera fans. There's gonna be people at this show in South America that maybe have heard of this Pantera band, but then they're gonna witness this assault, and they're gonna go straight out and get every Pantera album, T-shirt, vinyl, whatever. You know, it's beautiful. We must keep the metal alive in no matter how we can, and to have it brought back to us this way is going to be sensational.
Yeah, and for fans my age who never got to see Pantera, but Pantera broke up when I was 13 or 14 years old. Now I get to go see them with Zach and Charlie. Amazing. And
You
last
know,
thing
sorry,
here,
sorry to
please.
interrupt. Yeah, but what I took them with Priest to Europe when I saw, you know, quick story, saw Dimebag when Priest were up in 1991 up in Canada rehearsing for a tour, and I see Dime on the TV and he's wearing a Priest British steel. I'm like, who is that guy? God, what's he playing? Tell him, wait for him. I'm gonna go check him out. Jumped in the cab, went to the studio, much music, met him, just fell in love with the guy immediately. That night jammed with the band in a club in Toronto, and I said to the rest of the Priest guys, this band is just going to change the world. Let's take them to Europe. They'd never left America before, so they get off the plane and then Europe, and you know it's tremendously intimidating when you get out of your comfort zone, especially your country, you know. But they went out on that stage, and you know, Priest maniacs were like, who are these freaks? By the end of their set, the place was on fire, you know. So again, in the thread of life, this is just sensational. It really is. So I'm so stoked.
Yes, and of course, it is Judas Priest who took Pantera on their first big tour. And because of that, it's my opinion, just my opinion, that if Pantera tours the world, maybe they should bring Priest on the road with them. Maybe
You
that's
heard it
just
first, folks. You heard it first from Graham. You know, wouldn't that would be just unbelievable, wouldn't it? That's just making my head go boof thinking about that. But whatever happens, let's cherish it, man. Let's check out the band and just love it, and you know, take it home and live with it and feel good.
Yes, very much. Well, Rob, thank you so much for your time. As always, it always makes my day to get to speak with you. And of course, Biblical is the book, November 1st, highly recommended for some more metal stories from the metal god. And Rob, thank you so much.
It's always a pleasure, Graham. Thank you, my friend. Stay hard, stay heavy, stay metal. See you soon, bro.